mic check. Welcome to another episode of Mind Control. I am your captain, Coach Nita. Upstairs to the right, I got me some.
Nisha Mishley.
Downstairs below me, baby, I got me some.
It's your boy, Caleb Rashad. Imagine if I did that every time.
I thought we was about to be on like 92.3.
I
I was
was already like internally cringing. I was like,
Ugh.
I was ready.
ugh,
Shout out to our
too
viewers,
much.
subscribers. Thank you all for going along on this pilot journey with us as we've been kind of triaging to see if the live is going to work. We've been getting some feedback, how we can improve and increase the the interaction with all of you all. But again, welcome to another episode. All vibes, all healing vibes, all growth vibes. There is so much happening in our world, but we're going to
Yes, the month of September. It's Libra season, so y'all look out for me and Amanda.
You know what? I gotta say, Libras, I don't really know the signs like that, but
I
Libras,
love me a good Libra.
Libras are not bad. Libras are, you all are very.
I haven't had any bad run-ins with Libras.
I don't think I have either, to be quite frank with you. It's the
Hey.
What's up, so?
Hey, John.
Shout out to her and her, y'all, 2 snaps for her podcast today. Chatting and keeping up with Charlie Jones. She's going to be featured on Sundays at about 1:30. Today was her pilot run, so again, salute to her. This evening, y'all, like I said, there's so much happening. We have the debate going on. We have
it's suicide awareness and prevention.
I was getting there. It is Suicide Prevention and Awareness Month.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
So, are we like, is suicide, like the word suicide, is that like not a good word to say anymore? Because I've seen like a lot of people like bleep out that word recently, a lot in like videos and stuff.
Yeah, people are saying like unalive now, I've noticed.
Like, is it like a trigger warning or something like that? Like the word itself?
Gonna get to.
Okay, got to. Yeah. I live for that.
Okay, baby Libras.
This can be a very triggering topic, and I apologize.
Yeah.
Right, it's unalive. I guess the therapist in me is just coming out. This is a month where we pay homage to resources. This is a month that we just put it into action, that you can see people at their highest, from celebrities to their children, to social media influencers, to athletes who have most of which who have experienced thoughts or ideations of it, or actually have taken the next step to unalive themselves. So we want to pay homage. There's a study that's out there that says every 40 seconds, someone unalives themselves. And sometimes we can
40 seconds.
Every 40 seconds. So we can be on these platforms looking the part and really be jacked up on the inside. So there's a hotline. It's 988. Again, the hotline is 988. And you can anonymously speak to someone. You can even process with someone. So as much as we love talking about things that are going on in the world, giving shout out to our Rose. We want to pay homage to this month, but we want to talk about it from an awareness, to let people know that this is real. This really happens. And sometimes culturally, it's a conversation that we really don't have because we kind of skate around it. And
it's taboo to talk about because, you know, it's an ailment of the mind, and nobody, like, unlike breaking an arm or, you know, something that people can see, you know, people can't really see your thoughts and your right. So I think it's a little bit taboo to discuss sometimes because people don't really know how to, you know, talk about it.
And I would really love to put it out there. And some people go, you know, every month at the lab, we do a new diagnosis or a new focal point. And I was telling the athletes earlier today in our session, you'd be surprised how many professional athletes have these thoughts. But because they are in a breadwinning environment, that they have to be the go-to ones. They have to be the one where there's a lot of pressure.
They feel pressure.
They feel pressured.
I've seen stories about so many different athletes like Lamar Odom and Yeah, just going through the same. I hear interviews with like Dwayne Wade and Gabrielle Union Wade, and
Mhm.
how, they're 50-50 in their relationship because they both have, families relying on them. They're the breadwinner for their families. And
Mhm.
especially to your point, Coach, in our communities, oftentimes we're having to, throw the rope back and, bring people with us. They call it the black tax because it's like if you see success, you have to, share that and bring your people
Mm.
with you. And
Hoping
that's
Share the
the
wealth.
pressure.
that put that term out there, the black tax. I like that. Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a lot of pressure for someone to carry, like, someone being a breadwinner or being successful. That's just a lot of pressure for one person to have to carry a whole, that they whole, legacy on their back.
Hmm. And
Yeah,
then
and not even just that, it's just like just the whole hustle and bustle of
mhm.
not even just like, big celebrity names, of just like regular day people just
I was
working nine
going
to
to say,
fives. It's
mhm.
just like you have all these other things, and a lot of times we just forget and neglect our mental health
Mhm.
and just unaware of it. Like, so yeah, it could easily just
I
like
also think
slip
of it
away from you like that.
from the perspective that sometimes in certain cultures, it is a very stigmatized conversation. So they will send you to your big mama. They send you to your religious leader, and they'll say, "Hey, can you pray for this person, or can you send good vibes to this person?" But where is it that these leaderships in our religious sectors can send people to mental health professionals?
Yes, that frustrates me honestly, and no shade to the religious community or anything.
None.
Mhm.
I don't consider myself a religious person, but I grew up in that,
Mhm.
and that frustrates me when it's just like a pray it away, or faith without works is dead. That's Christian. That's what y'all said. So it's like
Mhm.
have to actually put some type of action behind what it is you're trying to accomplish. So I just, I just feel like that's like a one size fit all
Mhm.
response. Like
And I
pray
feel like
away.
looking for, like, if you're looking for a therapist, there are therapists that work within like, different
Yeah,
religions and stuff like that. So it's like,
there are Christian based therapists.
Mhm. Mhm.
yeah. So it's like it's someone for everybody. So it
There's
doesn't
something
have,
for
and it doesn't have
everybody.
to be Christian based. You could be completely go to a therapist that don't even like, I don't
Yeah.
You
know,
just have to
believe
be
in.
intentional. You have to be intentional
Yeah,
about, it's no different than finding, any other doctor. I
yeah.
saw my
But
therapist
just going to church and trying to pray the way,
like a
like, I
year
don't know.
before I made an appointment. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I also like to bring to the forefront that when you process it, and even though you do go and see a mental health professional, that's not always a solution. And sometimes people are at their rope where they're like, I've had it up to here. And the only thing sometimes as peers and as friends that we can do is have that understanding and acceptance. It may hurt us, but we don't know what that individual has been struggling with cognitively. We don't know what that individual has been battling emotionally. And for
have
us
you
to
guys
be able
heard
to,
about that like assisted suicide? I forget like the actual name for it, but in certain cases of like hopelessness, or when someone just doesn't want to go on living and has like, I guess, like a logical reason as to why maybe they have been paralyzed from the whatever down, or they just have no quality of life. And in like foreign countries, like you can actually go and
I
get.
think somewhere here in the States too, you can do it, but it has to be like almost medically or psychologically approved,
Yeah, you have.
Um,
Yep, you have to go through
which is
a.
really ironic. But again, we just wanted to take this moment to even have a moment of reflection. If we know of someone or someone that, that we've been peers with or family members or people who are having these moments, never just assume that having an abundance of followers, Dr. Kevorkian. Right, right, right.
who's
So,
that? Who's that?
Is that
uh,
the assisted suicide guy?
yeah, yeah, but
Okay.
sometimes being at a height, like followers, and you got a big bag, or you got a bad B, or you got the top dude, that doesn't always signify healing and mental stability. So
Right.
people say, I need to go and check on my strong friend. Make sure you check on you first before you get to your strong friend.
Mm.
Yeah.
You're not strong enough to deal and process with that. So again, The month of September is to pay homage to the awareness, but the prevention, and then using the crisis hotline, which is 988. We just want to put that out there. So again, make sure all month long, everyone, that we're paying homage, and it doesn't have to be a long, drawn out, sad, woe is me. It could just be passing the resource along, or just checking in or calling in with someone, but also realizing the powers of exercise and what the endorphins do and what these neurotransmitters do to boost your mood and to heighten your emotions. Outside of that, one of our focal points we're going to get to soon, but we've been seeing a lot in our world as far as the debate season, right? So
yeah, election coming up in what, like 50 something days, couple
yeah,
months.
yeah, and you
It's
have
getting
people.
down to the wire.
But we also have people who are so literally like diehards, where they will literally sacrifice family and relationships because there's been a split in who you should vote for. We've seen so much of this take over our social medias, take over our TVs, where it's like, what more can we talk about? You
You know
see,
I
what this
feel
reminds
like,
me of? This reminds me of the same thing like when Obama was running. Same thing happened.
well, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm getting the same feeling.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think the relevancy is it. We're labeling it with working out also makes me feel so much better. It really does.
Yes, it really
Yeah,
does.
I'm not really a gym person, but I force
We're gonna
myself,
get
especially when I'm not in the best of moods, because I can't deny the positive effect that it has on
Mm-hmm.
my mood working out.
there.
So
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I
Hmm.
agree.
And those of you who are just chiming in, I'm Coach Nita, that's Nisha, that's Caleb. We're mind control, and we are focusing this evening on so many different things, but making sure we pay homage to SI and to even self harm, even self injurious behavior, such as bling, 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 or having the attempts or having the thoughts and putting it out there, but also watching what you're taking in. If you're finding yourself following this debate to its entirety and it's taken over and it's consuming, it's also consuming if we don't log off or take time away. You're right, so John.
Exactly.
Um, you
It's
have to
stressful. I
learn how
was
to
really
disconnect.
talking to my auntie. It's stressful.
Mhm.
I was talking about this election. This election is very stressful. There is one particular candidate who I just can't really see myself. I can't really see myself living another 4 years with this president at term. So it's just stressful to think about
Mhm.
what that looks like for us. And it's
Yeah, because I
just,
feel
yeah,
there's a lot riding on this
there
election.
is, and
It's almost kind
it
of weird
gives me
when you think
anxiety.
about
To
it.
be honest, if I'm being honest, it gives me a lot of anxiety. So.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't want to push anyone to have a certain thought or who you should vote for. It's just make sure you include yourself. Make sure when you're putting yourself out there and you're talking about that, you take time away where you don't talk about the debate, where you
Mm-hmm.
don't really engage in conversations or scrolling up to where you find it. Even though last week we all got a good laugh out of cats and dogs last week. I was like, what the hell?
That is
Child.
ridiculous.
That
That was a mess.
that was a mess and a half.
That was so tired. And
I
then
I I also look at it from the perspective it's very stressful because it's bringing out so much hate.
it is, and it's just it's sad to see that, like, we're in 2024, and we still have, like, damn near Jim Crow racists like coming out the
Mhm.
woodworks. Like, it's really wild.
And it's crazy because it's always been there. Now it's just blatant.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. They feel enabled.
Hmm.
That's the thing, is that, like, he enables so much hate, and that's just really scary. And they're only gonna get more,
Worse.
more worse. They're only gonna get more enabled, and more just feel more entitled to their current behavior. I feel like we're only going to see more school shootings. We just saw this one, unfortunately, recently, where it's just going to become more unregulated and more chaos, and it's just going to be too much. And
And I
it's
think a lot of the undertones of the distraction is race. So
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that.
with race, it can make people become desegregated. Where in this time now, this is the moment for everyone to kind
Come
of hone
together.
and come together and mesh together and be like, what is it that we want to get out of this?
Right.
It's bigger than race. Yes, race is at the forefront to our viewers, to our subscribers. It's just really, if we take away the color of most of the things, some of the things you can't, right? But if you take away from the color, it really boils down to what, what really do
You
we
said
want?
it's a Simpsons episode. It's true. You know what? The Simpsons, they be predicting too much. I think they know something we don't.
Mhm.
I
Because
saw
it
a
was
meme. It was
spot
saying the
on.
debate was like a SNL episode.
Yeah,
Like,
I saw that post.
And when
Let
you
me
think
check.
about it from a leadership's perspective, could you imagine your parents or your grandparents having this much,
You
and they're
know,
trying to lead our household
your Gen
like
X,
this?
parents and your older generation, your old heads having to look at the. Imagine Martin Luther King looking at
we've been like, what?
Donald Trump debating.
You
Like,
said what?
this is nonsense. Like,
I
it's
know my grandmother smiling down from heaven.
it's
Like, this,
nonsense
I'm
and
so happy I checked.
tomfoolery. Like, that's what it
I
is.
can't do this. This also leads us into what we're focusing on. It's called functional freeze. So shout out to Caleb for pulling this out of his little mental health hat.
I don't know. I really just heard this like in passing. I was on TikTok. Heard
Yeah.
it again on TikTok,
TikTok Academy.
and yeah, I just kind of went down a little mini deep dive because I was like, I wonder if this kind of applies to me.
Mhm.
So
So I'm gonna tell y'all what functional freeze is. Functional freeze is a mental, physical, and emotional state where a person feels stuck. Even though they may be able to continue with their daily activities, it could be caused by chronic stress, trauma, unresolved emotional issues. And some of the symptoms can be numbness, disassociation, meaning being disconnected, reduced emotional responsiveness, where you're just kind of there, you're just kind of blah, and difficulty forming meaningful connections with others.
So like apathy, just apathetic.
Complete, and you can even look at it as compassion fatigue, where you're just there, you're just vibing. And sometimes when you think about a functional freeze, sometimes that could be happening on these platforms where people have podcasts. They got these thousands of followers, and so they have to put this and create this facade that everything is great, everything is flowing, but underneath the surface you have a very empty vessel.
Yeah.
You're a person who is so compelled by leading others that they're not really realizing that they're stuck themselves, and so you find
right.
I
yourself.
think it's a survival thing. I think it's like a survival mode thing, Nita. I think
Yeah, I was watching
It is.
the video that I sent y'all, and she was comparing the functional freeze to fight or flight.
Yeah.
And she said how it's like some people think it's kind of like similar, but they're like completely two different things. Like,
And when you think about it from a therapeutic perspective, there's fight, flight, and then there's freeze.
mm-hmm.
So there's fight, like I'm about to take this on, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's flight, meaning F all of this. I ain't got time, I'll deal with it later. And freeze means
Yeah, almost like avoidance.
Mm-hmm.
it's where freeze is like I'm stuck. Like I know I need to deal with this. I know I need to do that, but I don't have enough in me to even deal with this, to even talk about it. And even when I'm thinking about it, a debate or a presidential election mindset, you got people pulling you here, you got people pulling you here, you got this ad, you got this where you're just stuck. Like I don't even know what to do. Like
Imagine,
I have
this
an
happened,
internal master reset. What'd you say?
this happened all in a matter of like what, like 60 days, 2 months. Like imagine you're in one position and then all of a sudden it's just like drop everything. Like, you're the vice president, all of a sudden it's like you're running for the president of the United States, like drop everything. Like this is not a drill. Like that's crazy.
And you think about it, she still has a job.
Yeah.
So you're darned if you do, you darned if you don't, because you're trying to run for this. So that's like you going for another job and they got you doing but you still work at CBS.
But you still got a job. Like
and you still got a job.
Work
So
for
the job is calling
for
you.
the promotion and you still got your regular job.
Mm-hmm.
That also can be when we think about it from influencers. Right, a lot of people still have 9 to 5s as influencers.
Yeah, I hear not just influencers, even like actors and actresses. Like I hear them talking about how hard it is. A lot of these programs that were rolled out like post pandemic have been, taken away, and people are getting laid off, and you know what I mean, like all of these diversity hires, like, they're the first to go. So
Mhm.
it's just like a really interesting time
Mhm.
that
I
we're
also look at it. We
like.
have shout out to Charlie Joe and to talk to Rose on their platforms. They were talking about the Super Bowl, right? So they were referencing. Shout out to Kendrick. They were referencing the Little Wayne. You're literally
Oh,
every
how people
day
are
there's
mad
something.
about Lil Wayne, or
Mhm.
Lil Wayne, just because, I mean, just because they're New Orleans natives, you know what I mean? That doesn't, I don't feel like that's an automatic qualifier, you know, in my personal opinion.
I kind of feel like
I
I
mean,
don't.
if you were from New Orleans
See,
and
I don't
having
even have
the
the
year
words.
that Kendrick was having, you know what I mean? If you were from New Orleans and you were having the year that Kendrick was having, and like let's say like the Saints was going to the Super Bowl, then I'm like, okay, like let's NOLA it out, like NOLA everything. But I feel like
My
this was
thing
like
is, I
big.
love Lil Wayne down boots. Love Lil Wayne. But
Same.
it's like I've seen videos of him live and
It's not
it
giving.
it doesn't give Super Bowl,
See,
Quality to
you
that's
know? You know?
what the girl said on their platform, right? But you also have to think about. I told on Soul John's platform earlier about branding. Y'all know Amanda stays on us about branding, right? Everything is a brand. Nita, how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you do your hair, everything is a brand. I feel that he hasn't branded himself to match what's happening in today, with today's vibe. We know Lil Wayne from the mix albums. We know Lil Wayne from this, but the relevancy to be relevant in people's minds right now, I think it's a branding thing because he can have his, creative look, his locks and everything. But what really
He holding on to them locks.
they are
he
holding on to
needs to
gods
just
and
let
changing
him go.
hands. Yes,
Him
yes.
and, him and Stevie Wonder need to just go ahead and let him go, child.
But you also think about it, that's also affecting us as far as a functional freeze, because we're kind of like, we're excited culturally, right? Like, hey, we got this artist, we got this artist, but then we feel stuck because we internally are Little Wayne fans, right? But you're like Soul John said earlier, Kendrick has been holding to
He
all.
He's
really
holding on
is.
to 25.
He
Right.
Has been
really is.
All
putting
25
on
of
Looking
them.
like French fries.
Kendrick has been
Not
putting
French
on a
fries.
clinic this year. He's been putting on a
Yeah.
and what I mean a clinic means he has been setting the precedent of what it takes to be an artist, what it takes to be a performer. And I think even, I'm a Pomona girl down in my soul. Y'all know that. But if somebody chose sugar free over me, I'd be like, I'm kind of in my bag, but I'm like, he's a little bit more relevant than me. I would have to give honor where honor is due. But the fact that
I feel like I've been
everything we've
operating in
been
freeze
looking
frame for a long
like
time.
I'm operating in a freeze frame for a long time. So I appreciate you all breaking this down the way that I can identify with. And it's really true.
Yeah,
So many things has us in a freeze where we don't even know if you want to vote this way, you want to vote this way, you want to do your hair this way. Do you want to listen to Kendrick? Do you want to support Lil Wayne? Literally everything is a yin and a yang.
yeah. I'd never even heard of it, so I appreciate Caleb bringing it to the forefront. But I mean, it makes sense. I know I experience a lot of the symptoms when I'm feeling overwhelmed or just like resentful of like what's overwhelming me, or you know what I
Mhm,
mean. So it just makes me want to like shut down emotionally and
mhm.
just kind of not feel anything. My therapist told me about this phrase called deferring joy, where
Yeah,
it's like I don't want to allow myself to feel excitement or disappointment. I just don't want to feel anything,
you're
basically.
in the middle.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, just to avoid disappointment.
There's not a healthy baseline.
It's not.
Just I don't
And
even
it's
want to deal with
unrealistic. We're,
I don't
we're
want to deal with
emotional
either
beings.
emotion.
Mm,
I'd rather just be flowing. But if you notice, so many times a lot of this comes from unresolved trauma.
yeah.
We think about trauma. Trauma isn't always, it isn't always loss of life. Sometimes trauma can be, I started a new job. Trauma can be, I got it. I have a new platform that I have to be on. This is traumatizing because most of you know I'm very introverted. So, but when it comes time, don't laugh at me. But when it comes time to do my branding and my business, a part of me has to come alive. I've never heard of this either, but it makes so much sense. It's functional freeze. So that's what those of you who are just chiming in and watching later, functional freeze, and we're talking about it from a mental, physical, and emotional state where a person just feels stuck. You don't
It
even
also kind of reminds me of functional depression too.
Yeah, that's
Like,
where I was trying to get. After
yeah,
I was like, that sounds similar to functional
because
depression. 'Cause, you know, I think it
people can get up and like do their everyday activities
right.
and like kind of go with the motions, but maybe your home like is reflective of how you're feeling in the inside. Maybe you haven't like cleaned up in a while. Maybe you're not taking care of yourself. Your self-care is
Or
suffering.
just not feeling fulfilled in like
Mm-hmm.
certain
Feeling
areas.
unfulfilled.
also too why September is such a month to pay homage to self-harm and self-injurious behavior because people just go about their day-to-day and we're seeing, oh, I seen Nisha online, I seen her video, but once that camera go off, baby, I feel this way now. Shout out to you, Rose. We're gonna keep you in our high prayers and our high wishes.
Yes.
We're gonna keep
That
you
something is going to give you a shift, something in. But I think what it's going to boil down to everyone is the acceptancy and it coming out of your mouth and say something in me is not good, something in me is not all right, and then connecting yourself. God bless you, and connecting yourself with like-minded people who can hold you accountable, people who want to see you get to that level. Because sometimes when you get here, people are waiting to take your space. People are waiting for you to emotionally and cognitively check out to where you go, man, I can't stand Roseanne. Man, she a nurse. She
Or people just want you to like stay where they are. Like,
and you
free
also
love company.
you have to. I think this goes back to one of our episodes. You have to be cautious of who you align with right now in this journey.
yeah, watch who in your circle.
Watch who's in, even if you end up as a period, honey, it's okay to kind of roll by yourself until you can find what is it that makes Nita happy? What is it that makes Ro happy? What is it that makes Sojourn happy? It's one of those things, but you have to get to a place of acceptance and admittance to say this is what's happening to me. But you also got to be ready to deal with it because you
You
can
have
only
to like do the work.
you because you can only fake the funk for so long.
Yeah.
And know that it's a journey, not a destination. It's
Mhm.
just learning the tools to just deal with life
Mhm.
because life isn't changing. Life is change. Life is constant change. So we just have to know how to function
And
and
especially to our viewers,
sometimes.
who are parents, because it's one thing to self-reflect and self-care, but if you got your baby knocking on the bathroom door, you don't really have that much time because now a part of you has to go into your child. A part of
Mhm.
you now has to become a mom, become a
Mhm.
dad, become a grandmother. So having those moments of self-reflection to go, something in me is different, something in me I'm not dealing with. And trauma, like I said, trauma doesn't always have to be loss.
Right. And
Trauma, go ahead.
And for the young people too, I want to say, sometimes it just feels like people don't understand like what you're going through. I know it feels like the whole world is against you, and you're dealing with everything that you're going through for the first time. I remember being a young adult and like feeling like everything was like coming at me, and I've never dealt with any of these things before, and it can be a lot. So I just want to say for young people too, is I know sometimes we have a tendency to just be like, oh, they're just young. They'll
Right.
figure it out. I feel like we can be dismissive of young people's feelings and emotions and like what they're going through, but they're like newborn babies, learning how to walk. They're learning how to be adults for the first time, and
Mhm.
that can be hard.
And I love the part with functional freeze because it says, even though we're able to continue with daily activities, because you know your routine, you know,
Mm-hmm.
get up,
Right.
shower, get to work, you know your routine. I can walk into the gym, y'all, 30 seconds, let's go, and be at home, toe up. I've been through that journey where
Yeah.
you're just existing and people are seeing you in this light and they're going, man, see Nisha's video? Oh man, she's really, really, really putting in work right now. But underneath the surface, Nisha got a lot going on, but she's been able to mask and put on this game face as if everything is well. This is why this month is so important, especially for us as a culture. Nothing against anyone else. It's just really looking at it from a perspective is, let me go and see somebody. Even if you can't afford the highest of the highest clinician, find someone that you can authentically just, there's a word I like to use, it's called have a catharsis. A cathartic release is kind of like, I hate to be graphic, cathartic release is kind of like having emotional diarrhea where you're just letting it all out.
Just kind of letting it out.
You're literally having a cathartic release. And I believe once you identify what's making you fly, what's making you fight, and then what's making you freeze, you start putting things in categories. But when you think about the categories, then you start connecting people to those categories. You go, okay, when I'm with Susie, y'all know my names, this is how I feel. But when I get over here with Mary, I feel like this. And then you kind of have to remember, we did that one episode about reassessing your circle. And you have to realize who's supposed to go with me at this journey now. You see what I'm saying? And then gauging, because everybody really can't go, especially when you start talking about you having a low mood. They're like, girl, y'all know so over there and she's feeling this way. But finding someone that you can authentically be yourself with, I think is going to be vital. And then don't be afraid to have moments where you just sit in silence. Have moments where you're just self-reflecting, like, girl, you know you ain't good. My grandma say you ain't crazy if you talk to yourself. You only crazy if you talk back. And if you answer, and this is me finding myself answering myself now, like, oh, neither. So again, we're focusing on so many things happening in our world. Shout out to this debate. I think it's one of those things where it hasn't really been a distractor. I think it's with social media, it's made it a little bit more heightened because we see it every day.
Right.
Yeah, I think I do think that it can be a distraction when it becomes a matter of overconsumption. Some people tend to doom scroll. And the algorithm being what it is, it'll feed, whatever need you have at the moment. So if you're just becoming all consumed with whether it be politics or just having FOMO, maybe, with me and my age, it's always like
FOMO.
Married and having, fear of missing out. Fear of missing out.
I'm almost 42. I'm like,
it's like people getting married and having kids and things like that, things of that nature. That becomes like my my FOMO and my doom scrolling. Like, oh my God, when is it gonna happen for me? And da da da. But at the end of the day, it's just a matter of disconnecting. Like we said, like sometimes you need to just kind of like unplug and feed your eyes something else. Like that's a matter of feeding yourself too. When you're scrolling, you're feeding your eyes, you're feeding your mentality. And sometimes you just need to put your phone down and just go step outside and look at some
Yeah,
trees.
like once my feed becomes like too much of like one thing, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, it's time to turn it off. Like
Right, it's time to check out and do something
I
else.
I I'm excited to hear the authenticity and the maturity in everyone's conversation and being forthcoming to say it's okay to disconnect because we live in such a world where our phone is right here. If it ain't on our phone, it's on our wrist. If it ain't on
It's
our
always
it's all
never too far away.
never too far away. I wish we can go back to the days where we had pagers.
I think about that. I saw this post that said that we're the last
y'all
generation.
alone on that one.
I saw this post that said we're the last generation that knows what life was like before social media, and that just like really hit me, like really like
Right,
hard.
kids who were like born in this, like, oh,
Yeah, kids who were born
you were
like once
really born
MySpace
with a
was
lot
here.
with
If
a
you were
tablet
born
in your
when
hand.
MySpace was a thing, like your whole entire life has been like social media has been a part of your upbringing. And I don't know what that's like. I remember when life was analog, and it was actually pretty great.
I
Not
was
to get
going outside
nostalgic.
playing in the grass.
So John said, I'll try that once it becomes one topic, turn it off. That is true.
Yes,
I've been
yes, that's
laughing
a good idea.
with Rose about the whole cat thing, right? With the other candidate. And I found now that literally everything on my feed is cat videos. And
Yes.
I am cracking up because personally,
I've
I'm
been seeing a
terrified
lot
of
of
cats, right?
remixes of the songs, like
The songs,
yeah, they take
about
like the little snippet of what he says and turn it into a song. It's hilarious.
everything. So again, those of you who are just joining us or are going to be watching this later, make sure you like, share, subscribe, tab it. We are going towards the end of our pilot run of our having to upload your pics on one pixel. Wow. We're coming towards the end of our pilot run of doing things live. We were just trying some new things. We are actually looking to do some more creative things moving forward. We even talked about, I won't even say because I don't want anybody to take our idea, but some really dope things that we have cooking in.
You are a mess.
I am a mess. Some things that we've been talking about doing different. We appreciate those of you who have been on this live journey with us. Shout out to our people behind the scenes. And those of you who, who save it, tab it, and watch it later, we appreciate that. Nisha, give us a takeaway.
I just want to speak on the suicide prevention awareness really quickly. Personally, I used to struggle with the idea of suicide. I used to have this very negative perception of people who committed suicide, like, because I used to see it as like a very selfish act. But to your point you made earlier, you never know what anybody is going through. So I like to take this time to, because I myself have suffered with suicidal thoughts and ideology. So I just want, and it helped me be a little bit more compassionate, because sometimes it's tough to stay and people just don't make it, you know what I mean? So I want people, I take it as a moment of self-reflection. I use this,
yes, that's it, mm-hmm,
to reflect on myself and how I can just go out into the world and you just be a little bit more kind to everyone. Just walk out in the world and just be kind, because you never know what someone's going through. So
I appreciate that. 2 snaps for her. I love it. Caleb, break us down.
Takeaway for me, referring to what is it? Functional freeze.
Mm-hmm.
I would say take the time out, or remind yourself to take the time out for yourself, and like kind of like decompress,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and remember to do things that you actually enjoy, and not just going day to day just on your routine, like waking up, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. Like, don't forget to do a little mental check-in and do little, you don't have to be like big things, it's like little self-care things that you enjoy to do, because that can kind of make, I don't know,
it can make all the difference. I
it can
remember
make all
I
the
was
difference,
feeling in
just
a, I
life
was feeling in
easier,
a funk.
enjoyable.
I was feeling in a funk, and I just started going to the movies. I started going to
Yeah.
see like one matinee a week, and that just little things, they can make all the difference. So
Hmm.
I would say for me is be honest with yourself. You owe no one an explanation. You owe it to yourself to be healed at by any means necessary. So if you have to disconnect, you ain't in the center circle, you ain't at all the pop-ups, you ain't at all of these things, and you're taking that moment to disconnect. I remember going on a healing journey last year where I couldn't believe I did it, but I even went on a celibacy journey, right? But I made myself accountable to certain peers, and it wasn't easy, but I'm not perfect, right? But I can look back where I was 2022, 2023, and I look at me in 24 and I go, I have so much more grace now. I have so much more compassion and maturity in the way that I speak, the way that I articulate, but more so now because I am a clinician, is I've decreased being other people's therapist and trying to therapeutize everyone and looking at it from a clinical lens and looking at it from a humanistic reality and saying, I may have the book knowledge, but that doesn't mean I have this person's experience. And so your healing journey may not take a year like it did me. Because I was, as my auntie would say, I was two sheets to the wind. I literally, I didn't know if I was coming or going, but I had such a facade and such a game face that Nita got it all together. But if I peel back them layers, I was just as torn up as a piece of paper, literally. And I go back and I go, how was it that I was sitting at the forefront compelling people about self-care, but I really wasn't making time for my own self to heal, for my own self to reflect. So I love doing things by myself. Maybe it's the introvert in me, but I have really tried my darnest now, because I do well by myself, is trying to engage with other people, because that's always been a challenge for me. Because I can get into an event and 30 seconds later be like, okay, you ready to go? Or I'll be, the hype man, the camera girl for everybody, holding girls' purses, holding the girls' purse when we go out. But now trying to be intentional with my presence. So whatever you all do, make sure you leave a legacy. Make sure that if you wrong someone, you go back and you fix it. There was someone at the club that I was super rude to last week, and I seen him again, and I said, "Hey, let me holler at you real quick." He said, "Mm-mm, like I ain't coming to you, crazy bat lady." And I went over there and I made it right. And but the old me would have been like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Like he was out of pocket, like yada yada yada. And a lot of my youngster now, they go, Coach, oh my God, you're so soft now. Ever since you turned 40, you're so soft. And I look at that as a compliment. I look at that I've been able to embody grace. So I want to remind us to be graceful in what we do, be graceful in our intentions, and then make time. Like Nisha said, go to the movies. Hell, the matinee is cheaper. Go on the daytime with
I
the
like to
rest.
make a list. I make a list of all the little things that I like to do, because it doesn't always have to be like grandiose. You don't have to take like
No,
a trip across the country or run a marathon. It could be just going to see a matinee, go bowling. I've been wanting to learn how to play tennis lately. I like to ride bikes. You know what I mean? It could be just very small stuff.
I went on a 3 mile bike ride at a local beach not that long ago, and I literally, they say wind beneath my wings, yo. I was flying, and then I took my nieces, and we did a
I
little water, we did
love
all that, but we went on a bike ride. Just little things that can in
Yeah, I love that.
I
It's
love
one
it.
of my favorite things. It's
And
so
some
great.
people feel like you always got to be booed up when you do stuff like this, honey. You want to
No,
be
go with your family.
healed.
Go with
You
your
want to
friends.
be
Go
healed
alone.
want to be healed and whole before you go get your boo. You don't want to bring garbage to your boo. Oh,
What did the song just say?
talk to
Me,
me.
myself, and I.
Me,
That's what I
myself,
got in the
me.
That's what I
That's one jam I
got.
do know, so y'all give it up for me. Thank you for the spirit fingers, because normally y'all be hitting jams. I had to Google who Little Spice was, whatever her name is.
You're embarrassing us.
Not Little Spice.
Yes. Hey.
Not a little spice.
Little Spice sound like one of the Spice
Oh,
Girls.
that's
I
not
was
her
just
name.
about to get Caleb, get out of my
Wait,
brain.
her name's
Just
not
gonna
Little
say
Spice.
like
It's
that's our
Ice
Spice
Spice.
Girls
Hey, I was
mascot or
close.
something, Little Spice. Like
Little Spice. Shout out to Little
please.
Spice. Again, I am your captain, Coach Nita. We got me some
Caleb Rashad.